Good morning, everyone. Welcome to F&P's webinar on supported journeys. My name is Claire Joyce and I am the Content Director at F&P. I'd like to acknowledge the traditional owners of country throughout Australia, and I recognise their enduring connection to land, waters and culture. I am on the beautiful lands of the Gundungurra and Darug people today, and I pay my respects to their elders past, present and emerging, and I welcome any Aboriginal or Torres Strait Islander people we may have with us today. Okay, let's get started. We've got a great webinar for you with Mamta and Dan from the FIA award-winning agency Parachute Digital. We've got a chat box here, so please feel free to put any comments in the chat box. And if you've got any questions for Mamta or Dan, we'll address those at the end. So just pop them in the Q&A box and we'll do that after the presentation. So without further ado, let's get started on our supported journeys and let's welcome Mamta. Thanks, everyone.
Hey, guys. Do we want to share the slide? Sorry, guys, technical difficulties. Hi, guys. Thank you so much for joining us today for our webinar on mastering multi-channel supporter journeys. So as Claire said, my name is Mamta. I'm the lead digital consultant at Parachute Digital. And today I have with me Dan, who is another one of our digital consultants, who's actually popping his webinar speaking cherry today, which is super exciting. So before we start, I just want to caveat that multi-channel journeys can be really complex, super diverse and varied. And talking about them could actually take way longer than the 45 minutes we have allocated here today. So instead, what we've done is we've distilled it down to 3 key elements that make effective multi-channel journeys. And we're going to take you through those elements and also illuminate these with some of the case studies of supported journeys that we've worked on. We're going to give you some actionable insights that we really hope you'll take away and start practicing today. And please do ask loads of questions. We love answering them. So Dan, if you go to the next slide, please. So the reason we wanted to do this webinar today on multi-channel supported journeys is because we're a digital consultancy and we work solely with not-for-profits. So we do a lot of different types of digital projects, but we also get asked by a lot of orgs to either audit their current supported journeys or create brand spanking new ones for them across all types, not just donors, but also new leads, as well as peer-to-peer events. So when we do these audits and when we do these types of projects, what we've noticed is a lot of you are only using one channel and one form to talk to your actual supporters, which is email. And while this isn't inherently wrong, there's nothing wrong with it. Email is really important, but it definitely means that you are missing out on giving your supporters a really fantastic experience that will drive them to take probably the action that you want them to take, whether it is a donation, whether it is joining an event or fundraising for an event, whether it's converting them from a non-supporter into becoming a monetary or other supporter. And the reason this is that if you're relying that your supporters are simply loving and engaging with all of your emails, that's kind of being optimistic to the point of foolishness, taking a quote from Dumbledore. Even if you have the best optimized email journey in the entire world, even if you have cleaned all your databases, you've taken out all the bad seeds and you've got a really great database, if you've got killer subject lines, if you've got really cool clickbaity calls to action, and you have a really heart-wrenching story to boot, you know, a lot of people aren't really even going to open it, let alone read it. So think about yourself and think about your own personal inboxes. Are they overflowing with lots of communications every day? I bet they are. And even if you have your favorite organization or brand or whatever that you subscribe to, sometimes, let's be honest, automatically we move them to trash, right? So Dan, if you go to the next slide. What we actually know is that on average, only 25% of your list will open your EDMs per send. And this is higher or lower. It's not, you know, you can be different based on your different lists and your different communication pieces and how well that email performed. But generally, on an average, 25% of your list is going to open your EDM per send. That means that you're already actively missing out 75% of your audience each time. And what we've seen through our numerous audits that we've done is that as your journey progresses, the longer it gets, it declines. The number of open rates, the number of click-through rates actually decline. So, you know, you might have heard or you might have read that email is dying, and that's been trending for the last maybe 5 years, that email is dying, it's on the decline. And I don't think that technically email is dead or it's going to die. It is, but it is on the decline. It's not really hopping that much as it used to. But apart from the fact that email isn't, this incredible channel it was, 10 years ago, or even 5 years ago, it's a lot more than that. It's really thinking about where your supporters actually are and where they and how they engage with different brands and different organizations. So think about, again, yourself, your own example. Where do you go to get information? Do you actually read all your emails, or do you, go on Instagram? Do you watch YouTube videos instead? Do you prefer to be in a Facebook group? Do you listen to podcasts? Do you go for walks? So it's not exactly that your supporters are even engaging with your emails, because they're not technically there. So, they look at different ways to engage with brands and get their content, and different places to do that as well. So why would you only bombard them with email? So Dan, if you go to the next slide, please. So this is why we're talking about multi-channel today. So if fewer and fewer people are actually opening and engaging with your emails, which we see, and which is the trends we see as the journey goes on, and if they are consuming content in different ways, which isn't just reading an email and clicking through to something, you really need to find new ways to interact with your supporters. So I want to put a caveat here. I'm not saying go away today and make multi-channel, like just start chucking all your content everywhere, every channel that you own. That's not what that is. It's really about being strategic about what you want to do and how you talk to your audience across different channels to tie into a really core supporter experience. So it's thinking beyond just your inbox and really hitting the right people with the right targeted message and content, and on the right channels, platform, and devices that we know that they're on. So there are two main reasons that we do harp on about multi-channel, which I'll throw over to Dan to take you through.
Great, thanks, Mamta. So we're talking about multi-channel because multi-channel is supporter-centric, and that means it gives them a better supporter experience. So here, as to demonstrate that, we have some lovely stock images. I mean, genuine and real life supporters. So Katya, for example, she loves your organization, but she doesn't like reading. But she does like watching videos and listening to podcasts. So she's not reading your emails, but she is interested in your organization, but she wants to consume that information in a very different way. Jenny is another example. She reads the occasional email, but she spends most of the time watching Instagram and Facebook stories. So maybe she's on email, maybe she's reading your email, but email isn't the right channel to get her because she's never in the right headspace when she's on her emails. Maybe she's at work, maybe she's task focused, but on the weekends or in the evenings, Facebook or Instagram is going to cut through, and she's going to take the time to sort of read the blog article or the appeal piece that you're sharing with her. Sven is another example. He's taking part in your walking event, but he prefers reminders via SMS and Facebook so he can share his page easily with friends. So he appreciates the emails. He's reading your emails, but SMS and Facebook are actually, they're much better tools for him to help him do the thing that he wants to do, which is also the thing that you want him to do. So it's about finding ways to share your content with your supporters, but doing it with them at the heart of it, and ultimately improving the supporter experience for them, because they exist and they communicate actively or passively across a ton of different channels and platforms, which we all know. But what's the benefit for you? Well, multi-channel means you can be more prolific, and it means you can reach more people in multiple ways. So we're talking about reaching people who you can't reach with email, people who are never going to open those emails. Where else can you find them so you can get your message and your content in front of them and start engaging them when otherwise you wouldn't? So we're growing the pie, but it's also about higher frequency and engaging your supporters across many channels, including emails. So there are people who are reading your emails and love your emails. Maybe they don't love them, maybe they do love them, but we're talking about using many channels as part of a consistent experience and they all start to support each other. So email works, but other channels can start to share and complement that message, either hitting them up with the same message or using supporting messaging that starts to tie into each other. Because really, it's marketing 101. As we all know, it takes an average of about 12 touch points before someone decides to do the thing you're asking them to do, donate or sign up, complete a a petition, whatever it might be, we know that we need to get content in front of them many more times than just once. And this means multi-channel means you can do that more effectively, more quickly, start to get more traction, start to get a bit more momentum, rather than relying on sort of enough EDM opens and clicks, at which point you never quite get to that critical mass. So your digital strategy needs to become savvier. And yes, we need to optimize emails. Yes, we need to get cut through in the inbox. Yes, we need to improve and iterate on our email performance. But really, it's about going multi-channel, because ultimately what we're talking about is staying top of mind and permeating your supporters' consciousness across the different channels where they use, telling your stories and getting your stories in front of them. But we want to keep it supporter-centric. And that the key to that is hitting your goals and keeping it supporter-centric, and they marry up together, and they actually mean that the journey is effective at engaging, it's effective at bringing your supporters on board to your cause. And we're talking about all of your supporters here. It's not just donors, it's not just acquisition. I know a lot of charities, have a relatively sophisticated journey when it comes to their major appeals with email and SMS and perhaps Facebook. But the message we're trying to get across today is that multi-channel can be an approach to all of your comms all year round. We're talking, stewardship, events, talking to your event participants, your event donors, your advocates, your volunteers, your e-news list, obviously, lapsed donors. This is really for everyone. It's about sort of changing how you approach your communications to be a bit more sophisticated in how you tell your stories and where you tell them. Hopefully, we're there for improving stewardship. We're lifting second gift rate, and you're sort of making that mental shift in terms of how you communicate to everybody.